Marvel fans, comic geeks, and all the nerds in between. I am Megan with Vigilante Vibes, and I am here to talk about another character in Marvel Comics that is actually a mutant. Surprise, surprise. And today I want to talk about Warlock. So, who is Warlock? Warlock first appeared in New Mutants number 18. Warlock is an alien from a place called Kvitch. It's Kvitch. it's a weird word, but what can you do? It's somewhere out in deep space, so it's not like you're ever going to visit. His whole race, the Technarchy, is made of living techno-organic material, basically sentient beings who look like a mix of machinery and circuitry. So he is a weird-looking dude. There's no other way to go about it. He is an odd one. The Technarchy, they reproduce in huge numbers, raising their kids in a krish, though the process definitely isn't anything like how life works on Earth. For the Technarchy, survival is simple and brutal. Every child has to fight their parent to the death. Either the kid wins and earns the right to exist, or the parent kills the kid instead. So, there's that. Warlock was the son of Magus, who ruled their world and was basically the strongest being around. He was the big dog. He was the big man on campus. Warlock realized he was different, mutant even, when he discovered he didn't want to kill his father. It's just not his thing. Since that kind of compassion was seen as defective, he panicked, fled Kvitch, and his father took off after him. Warlock eventually crash-landed near Earth, first plowing right through Asteroid M, which is Magneto's old base in space, destroying it completely. He finally came down near Xavier's mansion, drawn in by the powerful Shi'ar tech the X-Men kept there. The mansion was home to the X-Men and the New Mutants. Warlock, totally overwhelmed and terrified, ran into the New Mutants and accidentally fought them at first. His energy started fading fast, and he was close to dying. They brought in Doug Ramsey to try and talk to him, and thanks to Doug's language powers, if you don't know, Doug can just speak every language. He can say it all. They managed to communicate. Warlock became their friend, and with Xavier's approval, he joined the team at the same time as Doug Ramsey, who was Cypher and now is Revelation in the comics. Even when Warlock had the personality of an overexcited kid, he became an important member of the New Mutants and a solid ally to the X-Men. One problem, though. He always needed to drain the life glow of organic beings to stay alive, which freaked people out, rightfully so. In public, he'd shapeshift into a human form to blend in, so he has that going for him. Later, when Amara, the Enchantress, kidnapped the New Mutants to Asgard, Warlock ended up in Hell. Hela basically shrugged and let him go, saying he had no idea how powerful he actually was. This was also when Warlock first learned to form armor around Doug to protect him. That will come up later. After they got home, Magneto became their new teacher. Warlock and Doug eventually learned that they could merge together. I told you it would come up again. Sharing both minds and bodies as a single entity. But this also risked permanently infecting Doug with the transmode virus and merging them forever, which scared everyone, which is also fair. Not long later, the New Mutants rescued the infant X-Men from Mojo's mind control spell. Then, when Magus attacked the team again, magic teleported everyone to Limbo. Magus teamed up with the Sim and infected tons of Limbo demons with the transmode virus, which is not what anyone wanted. Doug and Warlock merged again, and Doug used Warlock's DNA to figure out how to rewrite Magus's code, basically turning him back into a baby. Back home, the Impossible Man showed up wanting to have fun. Warlock and the Impossible Man started a shape-shifting contest and zoomed all over the world, with the New Mutants chasing them until Warlock finally won, mainly because he could change colors too. So a friendly soccer game went bad when Sunspot knocked out Cannonball, and thinking he was dangerous, Sunspot dipped. He ran off. Warlock chased after him, thinking the team needed to stick together. He saved Sunspot from some thugs and convinced him that they should stay together. After a whole bunch of weird encounters, including trying to rob a church, running into a duplicate Madrox, and getting recruited by the fallen angels, they ended up in Dinosaur World with Moon Boy and Devil Dinosaur, then got kidnapped again by the aliens of the Coconut Grove before escaping and going home. Warlock and Sunspot returned to help the New Mutants fight Cameron Hodge and the Wrights. During the battle, Animator tried to shoot Wolfsbane, but Doug jumped in front of the bullet and died. A furious Magic threw Animator into limbo to be eaten by demons. Magneto was enraged and told the team that they weren't allowed to leave the school again without him. Warlock, confused and heartbroken over Doug's death, especially after watching Night of the Living Dead, did not understand what death actually meant. Even though Magic did try to tell him, it's a very, very sad page because you see Magic like laying over Doug's body and like mourning him, and Warlock just has no idea. He's like, what are we doing? Why is he dead? Does that mean he doesn't come back? It's very, very sad. So he animated Doug's corpse by shapeshifting around him and took him to see Doug's mother and Wolfsbane, hoping Doug could somehow remember life and come back. The New Mutants gently explained he couldn't do that, and they laid Doug to rest. After this, Warlock was briefly captured, along with several others, by a monstrous version of the Baba Yaga, who fattened them up to eat them until Colossus rescued them and Magic undid the damage. The mutants eventually broke from Magneto, who claimed they were meant to be his army. He let them go, saying they'd someday realize he was right, which is such a Magneto thing to say. They almost went home to normal lives, but instead ended up joining X-Factor on their living ship and merged with the Exterminators. Warlock was later captured by Cameron Hodge again on Genosha. Hodge tried to drain Warlock's shape-shifting powers for himself. During the rescue attempt, Warlock's energy was completely drained, leaving him to reduce to ashes. His ashes were scattered on Doug's grave, that's sad, man. Hodge's experiment with Warlock's virus led to the birth of the Phalanx. They absorbed the remnants of both Warlock and Doug, creating a consciousness that couldn't survive inside the Phalanx and eventually separated off. This being responded to the call of the android Zero and gained access to Doug's memories, finally breaking free of the Phalanx and calling himself Douglock. Douglock joined Excalibur on Muir Island, went on adventures, and tried to figure out his identity, even developing feelings for Wolfsbane. He was later captured by Black Air, but rescued by Excalibur again. Excalibur eventually disbanded, but Douglock stayed on Muir Island until he was kidnapped by the Red Skull, who used him to take over S.H.I.E.L.D's helicarrier. He was freed by the X-Men, Deathlock, and Machine Man. Regaining his old memories, he went back to calling himself Warlock and dedicated himself to wiping out techno-organic tech. He discovered a girl named Hope, not the same as Hope Summers, just so you know, who carried the virus without being infected, rescued her, and traveled with her and her infected monkey, Chichi, to find a cure. The Magus returned yet again, but Hope used her powers to rewrite his DNA so he became part human like Warlock. Overwhelmed, the Magus ran off. Warlock returned to the Kvitch, God, I can't say that word, the Kvitch, and found only one Technarch left, a kid named Tyro. Warlock infected Tyro with his peaceful strain of the virus, calming his aggressive nature, and began raising him like a little baby. When Nova arrived infected with the virus, Warlock helped cure him, though reluctantly. Things went bad when Gamora and Drax accidentally summoned the Siredem, who was Tyro's father. Warlock sacrificed all of his life glow to cure Nova, seemingly dying. Distraught, Tyro overwrote his father's entire being with Warlock's peaceful code, gaining control over the massive Technarch and reviving Warlock. Together, they helped take down the Phalanx, fought Ultron, and began purging the galaxy of the virus. Later, Eli Bard resurrected Doug using the virus, and after a fight in Utopia, Doug was freed by Warlock using Magic's Soul Sword. They rejoined their old friends. During Bastion's assault on Hope Summers, this time it is Hope Summers, Doug convinced Warlock to absorb Hodge's life glow to save everyone, an act that traumatized Warlock deeply. Afterward, he couldn't even watch people eat. After a brief vacation, they returned to battle demons in Limbo, deal with Legion, and eventually Warlock was assigned to monitor global police feeds for threats. Later, Warlock merged fully with one of Multiple Man's dupes, naming the being Warlocks. After a series of events where mutant kind was erased from human memory, one's ONE sentinels attacked. Warlocks tried hacking them and got fried. Hope found him, but all he could remember was the word friends, and then he died. Which is like, dog, that's sad, man. Warlock eventually came back to life somehow. I'm sure they'd say, oh, the Five resurrected him. That's what they always do. Xavier recruited Cypher to help build Krakoa, and Doug secretly brought Warlock along, pretending they were fused permanently. Warlock helped terraform the island and actually merged with Krakoa itself so he could hear everything happening and keep watch on Xavier. To keep everyone from noticing, Warlock and Cypher pretended they were still fused, though a few people like Cyclops and Magic caught glimpses of them separated. Warlock was named as one of the swords of the Contest of Swords. He and Cypher finally dropped the axe, and Warlock transformed into a giant sword for Doug. Turns out Doug didn't need to fight at all. His battle was a surprise wedding to Bay the Blood Moon, which was also super weird. Warlock became an independent citizen and spent more time with the New Mutants while Doug focused on a married life. He and Doug later discovered that Mystique and Destiny were planning to depower and kill Myra McTaggart. Knowing Myra was dangerous but protected by Krakoa's laws, they let Mystique depower her but stopped them from killing her, reminding them that murder no man still applied. Myra escaped and they allowed Mystique and Destiny to hunt her afterward. Warlock started sitting in on council meetings and later learned from Legion that Magus had been killed by Nimrod, which devastated him. Warlock was then infected by Nimrod, giving the villain control of Krakoa through him. The Legionaries were forced to kill Warlock to save the island, though Nimrod escaped with a copy of the code. Warlock was then captured by Orcus and used by Vulture to create hounds, heroes infected with the virus. Nightcrawler's teams eventually freed Warlock, who purged the virus from everyone, including Vulture himself. So that is Warlock. He is actually a very, very sweet character. I do wish we could see him at some point. That would be really cool. It's like see more of him, I guess. More of a story, not just a background character. So like always, I have some comics for you to check out to get to know Warlock even better. You can check out New Mutants number 49 through 76, Excalibur 77 through 100, and Legion of X. So with that being said, be sure to like and subscribe and have a marvelous day.